My daughter-in-law fed me dog food in Arizona. She thought I was too old to fight back. Subscribe to her light for stories that will make your blood boil. The taste of humiliation has a flavor. Sweet, metallic. Like the dog food my daughter-in-law thought I was too stupid to recognize. I can still see their faces when I stood up at Robert's birthday party. Laptop open, evidence displayed for everyone to see. 20 guests, all watching, all silent. Amanda's wine glass hitting the concrete patio, shattering like her lies. "This is what I have been eating for 4 months," I said, my voice cutting through the Arizona heat. The photo on the screen showed 2 identical bowls. Brown chunks. One marked Rusty. One placed in front of the old woman they thought was too broken to fight back. Amanda's mouth opened. No sound came out. Robert's face drained of all color. His birthday cake forgotten. Candles still flickering in the desert wind. "Let me tell you how this started. My name is Dorothy Patterson. I am 73. And until 4 months ago, I thought family meant safety. I thought blood meant loyalty. I thought the woman my son married would honor the woman who raised him. I was wrong about everything. The sky over Phoenix that first night was the color of a healing bruise, purple, black, and swollen with heat that never breaks. The kind of sky that presses down on you, making it hard to breathe, hard to think, hard to hope. I sat at the end of Amanda's dining table, on the wooden chair that didn't match the others, watching her place a bowl in front of me like she was feeding livestock. The dining room felt like a mausoleum, cold despite the heat outside. The walls were painted that lifeless beige color that hospitals use to drain hope from terminal patients. No family photos, no warmth, just furniture arranged to look expensive and feel empty. The smell hit first, sweet, chemical, wrong in a way that made my stomach clench and my mouth water with nausea. Robert was working late again. He would been working late every night since I moved in 4 months ago, like the house had become toxic, and he could only breathe at the office, like my presence had poisoned the air he used to call home. "Eat up," Amanda said. Not looking at me. She never looked at me anymore. Not directly. I was furniture to her now, inconvenient furniture that talked back and needed feeding. I lifted the spoon with hands that had once been steady, hands that had delivered dozens of babies during my 30 years as a nurse, hands that had held my dying husband, hands that had applauded at Robert's graduation. Now they shook slightly. Whether from age or rage, I couldn't tell anymore. The texture was all wrong. Chunky processed, like wet cement mixed with artificial flavoring and ground up dreams. It stuck to my teeth, coated my tongue, made me want to spit it across the perfect white tablecloth she would bought with money. I would help them save. I glanced at Rusty's bowl by the sliding glass door. Same brown mush, same chemical sheen catching the overhead light, same contempt disguised as nutrition. Amanda caught me looking, smiled. That smile had once seemed warm when Robert first brought her home 5 years ago. Now it looked like something carved into plastic by a surgeon who had forgotten what human kindness looked like. "You are both getting older," she said casually. Loading the dishwasher with plates that had held real food. Food she would cooked for herself and Robert. Food with actual ingredients instead of byproducts and preservatives. Same dietary needs, makes sense to streamline things. The words landed like stones in my chest, each syllable calculated. Each pause deliberate. This wasn't neglect. This wasn't ignorance. This wasn't even cruelty born of stress or exhaustion. This was deliberate degradation, served with a smile. I forced down one bite. The taste coated my tongue like humiliation. Sweet, metallic, permanent. Like pennies left in the sun, like blood in your mouth, after someone punches you hard enough to make you forget your own name. "Thank you, dear," I whispered. "Because what else do you say when someone feeds you poison and calls it love?" Amanda's smile widened. "Oh, you are so welcome, Dorothy. I ordered a whole case. We will have plenty more." That night, I lay in the guest room they would given me. Walls the color of old bones. No window to let in moonlight or hope. Just artificial air from a vent that wheezed like an old man dying. The bed was a twin, barely wide enough for my shrinking frame, with sheets that smelled like industrial bleach and broken promises. I could hear Amanda's laughter from the living room, bright and musical, the kind of laughter that comes when you are watching someone else's misery dressed up as entertainment. She was on the phone with someone, probably her sister in California, probably sharing amusing stories about the burden of caring for Robert's difficult mother. 4 months earlier, I would had a stroke. Minor, the doctors said, though nothing about watching your own body betray you feels minor. Some balance issues, short-term memory gaps, moments where words would slip away like water through my fingers. Nothing severe. I could still drive, still think, still remember every birthday and anniversary for the past 50 years. I could still cook, still clean, still manage my own affairs. But Robert insisted I couldn't live alone anymore. Just temporary, Mom, he would said. Eyes not meeting mine, voice carrying that tone people use when they are lying to themselves as much as to you. Until you are stronger. Until you are more stable. I would been living independently for 6 years since Harold died. 6 years of learning to sleep alone, to cook for one, to make decisions without consulting anyone else. 6 years of building a life that was smaller but entirely mine. Amanda had smiled when Robert suggested I move in. Too wide, too white, too quick, like a shark sensing blood in the water. We will take good care of you, Dorothy, she would said, using my first name like a weapon wrapped in silk. It will be like having my own mother here. I should have seen the trap in that smile, should have noticed how she said my own mother instead of just mother, should have paid attention to the way her eyes calculated square footage and monthly expenses while her mouth made promises about family and love. The guest room was a closet with a bed and delusions of adequacy. 8 feet by 10 feet, no window, no natural light, no air circulation, just 4 walls painted that same bone. Dead beige, and a ceiling that felt like it was pressing down on me every night, trying to squeeze the life out of me one breath at a time. They would moved out the desk that used to be there, the comfortable reading chair, the bookshelf full of Robert's childhood treasures. Now it held only a twin bed with a mattress that sagged in the middle, a dresser with drawers that stuck, and the smell of mothballs and defeat. No pictures allowed too much clutter, Amanda said. Bad for someone with cognitive issues, might cause confusion. I wasn't confused. I was being erased. The kitchen was rearranged within my first week. All the coffee moved to the highest shelf. The good snacks locked in a pantry cabinet that Amanda claimed was for organization purposes. The regular food, bread, milk, simple things, pushed to the back of the refrigerator where my arthritic hands couldn't easily reach. It is for safety, Amanda explained. When I asked about the new locks, we don't want any accidents with expired food or medications getting mixed up. But I would been managing my own medications for 73 years. I would been reading expiration dates since before Amanda was born. I would been feeding myself and others since I was tall enough to reach the stove. My favorite clothes started disappearing from my dresser, then reappearing in the laundry basket, shrunken and misshapen. Oh no, Amanda would say, holding up a sweater that used to fit, but now looked like it was made for a child. The dryer must have been too hot. These old fabrics are so delicate, accidentally bleached. Oops, unfortunately shrunk. Sorry, mysteriously stained. What a shame phone calls went unanswered. Amanda would take messages, then forget to give them to me. Or remember days later when it was too late to call back. Your friend Martha called. She would mention casually 3 days after the fact. Something about lunch, but I told her, you weren't feeling well. You haven't been feeling well, have you, Dorothy? I feel fine, I would say. Are you sure? You seemed confused earlier. When you asked about the coffee? I asked where you had moved it. Did you? I thought you were looking for something else. The memory issues, you know. They come and go. But my memory was fine, sharp as glass, cutting as a blade. I remembered every small cruelty, Every calculated humiliation, every lie she told about my condition to justify her treatment of me. The isolation happened slowly, like drowning in shallow water. So gradual you don't realize you are going under until the water is already over your head, and no one can hear you screaming. Amanda would schedule errands during the hours, when my old friends might visit. Doctor appointments got forgotten until it was too late to reschedule. When neighbors from my old house called, messages disappeared into the void of Amanda's selective memory. She is having a hard time adjusting. I would hear Amanda tell people on the phone, her voice carefully modulated to convey concern and exhaustion in equal measure. The confusion, the wandering at night, the mood swings. It is really difficult. Robert and I are doing our best, but it is a lot. I wasn't confused. I was trapped. I wasn't wandering. I was pacing my cage. I wasn't having mood swings. I was having normal human reactions to being systematically dehumanized. But Amanda was building a narrative, creating documentation of my decline that would justify whatever came next. And I was starting to suspect that what came next wouldn't be good for me. The dog food started on a Tuesday. The sky that morning was the color of rust and despair, heavy with clouds that promised rain but delivered only oppressive humidity. Amanda served it without explanation, without apology, without even the pretense of human decency. She set the bowl in front of me and watched my face for recognition, for protest, for any sign that I understood what was happening. When I said nothing, her smile deepened. When I took that first bite and forced it down, her eyes lit up like she would just discovered fire. "How is it?" she asked, leaning against the counter with her arms crossed, her phone already in her hand, ready to document my humiliation or text her friends about the latest development in the Dorothy situation. "Different," I managed. "Because what else do you say when you have just tasted your own degradation?" "Different. How?" I looked at Rusty's bowl, back at mine. Same contents, same contempt, same message. "You are no longer human here." "Nothing wrong with sharing," I said quietly. She laughed, sharp, cold, like glass breaking in an empty house. "Exactly. You both live here for free, after all. Seems only fair that you would have similar dietary arrangements." That night, I waited until I heard Amanda's Netflix show start in the living room. Then I crept to the kitchen as quietly as my creaking joints would allow. The trash can under the sink told me everything I needed to know. Premium canine cuisine, gourmet beef, and rice flavor. Not for human consumption. The label was bright and cheerful, covered in pictures of happy dogs and promises of complete nutrition for active adult canines. The ingredient list read like a chemistry experiment. Meat byproducts, cornmeal, artificial flavors, chemical preservatives with names I couldn't pronounce. I took photos with shaking hands, not from my stroke, from rage, from the kind of fury that burns cold and clean and patient. The next morning, I called Tyler, my youngest grandson, 20, 2 years old, smart as a whip, and the only member of the family who had never been charmed by Amanda's performance of perfection. He was in his final year at Arizona State University, studying communications and working part. Time at a local news station where he learned about investigation and documentation and the power of truth properly presented. "Grandma Dorothy? What is wrong?" His voice was warm, concerned, still carrying traces of the little boy who used to crawl into my lap for stories about brave knights and clever princesses who saved themselves. "Tyler, sweetheart," I whispered, making sure Amanda was still in the shower, making sure I couldn't be overheard confessing my humiliation to the one person who might actually believe me. "She is feeding me dog food, and she thinks I am too old to notice." Silence on the other end of the line. Long enough that I started to wonder if he thought I was losing my mind too. Long enough that I started to doubt myself, started to wonder if maybe Amanda was right and I was confused and paranoid, and imagining things that weren't really happening. Then, "I am coming over." "No," I said quickly. "Not yet. I need proof first. I need evidence, Because if you come here and I have nothing to show you except the word of a sick old woman against a daughter-in-law who has been telling everyone I am losing my mind. You are not losing your mind, Grandma. And you are not just a sick old woman. You are the strongest person I know. I don't feel strong anymore, Tyler. I feel invisible. I feel like I am disappearing a little more every day. Then we will make you visible again. But you are right. We need proof. Can you document everything? So I became a spy in my own nightmare. I learned to use my phone's voice recorder, hiding it in my lap during meals, capturing Amanda's comments when she thought I wasn't listening or was too senile to understand the implications. I photographed every meal she served me, time, stamped, and saved. To a cloud account Tyler helped me set up using his student email address. I kept a detailed journal, not just of the food incidents, but of all the ways Amanda worked to isolate and demean me. The locked pantry, the moved medications, the forgotten phone messages, the clothes that kept shrinking, the casual comments about my declining condition that she made sure Robert overheard. She grew bolder as the days passed, started leaving the dog food cans visible in the recycling bin, called it my special diet in front of Robert, claiming it was recommended for my specific health issues. Mom needs very particular nutrition now. She would tell him when he was too tired from work to ask questions. High protein, easy to digest. The doctor was very specific about the requirements, lies wrapped in medical-sounding language. But Robert was never home long enough to question anything. And when he was home, he seemed determined to avoid any conversation that might require him to examine what was happening under his own roof. Amanda also started her campaign to have me declared incompetent. I found the emails on her laptop one afternoon when she would left it open on the kitchen counter, so confident in my supposed cognitive decline that she didn't bother hiding her digital tracks. Conversations with her sister about the Dorothy problem and how to access my assets. Research into guardianship laws, printouts about power of attorney and estate planning. They weren't just feeding me dog food, they were stealing my future. One degrading meal at a time. My house, the one Harold and I had bought 40 years ago, where we would raise Robert, where we would celebrated birthdays and holidays and anniversaries. My savings account, built nickel by nickel through 30 years of nursing shifts and careful budgeting. My small stock portfolio, Harold's gift to our retirement that had grown slowly but steadily over the decades. They wanted it all, and they were counting on my humiliation to keep me silent while they took it. 3 weeks of documentation, 3 weeks of swallowing humiliation, one spoonful at a time. 3 weeks of pretending to be grateful for scraps, while my own family plotted to steal everything I would worked for. The breaking point came on a Friday evening. Robert was out of town at a conference, and Amanda was hosting her book club. I could hear the women in the living room, laughing and chatting over wine and cheese and actual human food. The smell of baked brie and fresh bread drifted through the house like a taunt. Amanda brought me my usual bowl of dog food and set it down with unnecessary force. Hard enough to make the spoon clatter against the ceramic. "The ladies are having such a lovely time," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Too bad you are not feeling well enough to join us." I wasn't sick. She simply hadn't invited me to participate in the gathering happening in my son's house, 20 feet away from where I sat eating food marked "Not for human consumption." "Maybe I could just say hello," I suggested, knowing what the answer would be but needing to hear her say it out loud. Amanda's face hardened, the mask slipping just enough to show the contempt underneath. "I don't think that is a good idea, Dorothy. You have been so unpredictable lately. It might be embarrassing for everyone." She left me alone in the kitchen with my bowl of dog food, while 8 women enjoyed gourmet appetizers and discussed books I wasn't allowed to read because Amanda had reorganized my library for my own good. I could hear one of them asking about me, her voice carrying through the thin walls. "How is Robert's mother adjusting to living here?" A voice I didn't recognize asked. "It must be such a big change for her." "Oh, she is declining," Amanda replied, her voice carefully modulated to convey sadness and burden and noble sacrifice. It is really hard on Robert. The memory issues, the confusion, the special dietary restrictions. We are doing our best, but it is not easy. Some days, I wonder if we are really helping her, or just prolonging the inevitable. Dietary restrictions. As if dog food was a medical necessity rather than deliberate cruelty, prolonging the inevitable, as if my continued existence was an inconvenience. They were too polite to address directly. I sat there for a long moment, listening to their sympathetic murmurs and Amanda's performance as the devoted daughter, in-law sacrificing everything for her husband's difficult mother. Then I picked up my phone and called Tyler. "It is time," I said quietly when he answered. "You sure, Grandma?" "I am sure." Set up the meeting. Tyler had been working with a contact at the local news station, an investigative reporter who specialized in elder abuse cases, and had been waiting for the right moment to confront Amanda and Robert with the evidence we would gathered. But more than that, we would been planning something bigger, something public, something that would make it impossible for them to explain away or minimize what had been done to me. "Next Sunday," Tyler said, "Robert's birthday party. Amanda's planning a big celebration, right? Lots of family and friends." "Perfect," I said, feeling something cold and sharp settling in my chest. Not quite rage anymore. Something colder, something more patient, something that tasted like justice. Let's give them all something to really celebrate. The next few days passed, like a fever dream. Amanda continued her routine. Dog food for me, real food for herself and Robert. Constant comments about my declining condition whenever Robert was within earshot. But now every cruel word, every humiliating gesture was being recorded and documented and prepared for public consumption. Tyler came over on Saturday to help with party preparations. Amanda loved having him around because she thought he admired her organizational skills, her efficiency, her devotion to family. She had no idea he was setting up hidden cameras in the dining room and kitchen, documenting everything for the confrontation to come. "Your grandmother is so lucky to have family who cares about her," she told Tyler while preparing appetizers for the party, completely oblivious to the recording device in his shirt pocket. "Not everyone her age has people willing to make the sacrifices we have made." "What kind of sacrifices?" Tyler asked innocently. "Oh, you know, the special meals, the constant supervision, the medical management. She needs so much help now. Sometimes, I wonder if we are really doing the right thing, keeping her here instead of exploring other options. Other options like the care facilities she would been researching online, the ones that cost $15,000 a month and would eat through my life savings in 2 years, leaving nothing for Robert's inheritance and everything for Amanda's convenience." Sunday arrived bright and hot, typical for Phoenix in late spring. The kind of heat that shimmers off pavement and makes promises burn before they leave your lips. Amanda had decorated the patio with balloons and streamers, ordered catering from Robert's favorite restaurant, and invited about 20 people, extended family, neighbors, some of Robert's co-workers. Enough of an audience to make what was coming truly memorable. I dressed carefully that morning, not in the faded house dresses Amanda had been encouraging me to wear, claiming they were more comfortable and easier to clean, but in my best blue dress, the one I would worn to Tyler's high school graduation. I did my hair and put on lipstick and the pearl earrings Harold had given me for our 25th anniversary. If I was going to destroy her, I wanted to look dignified doing it. The party started at 2. I stayed in my room during the early festivities, listening to the sounds of laughter and conversation drift through the thin walls. Amanda was in her element, playing the perfect hostess, accepting compliments on the decorations and food, graciously receiving sympathy for the burden of caring for her husband's aging mother. Around 3:30, Tyler knocked on my door. "Ready?" he asked. Laptop bag slung over his shoulder, eyes bright with anticipation. I picked up the folder I would prepared, printed copies of all the photos, transcripts of the recorded conversations, the email evidence, the receipts showing hundreds of dollars spent on dog food while grocery spending remained minimal. Everything needed to tell the complete story of my systematic degradation. "Let's go remind them who I really am," I said. We walked onto the patio together. The conversation quieted as people noticed me, some looking surprised to see me dressed up and participating in the festivities instead of hiding in my room, like the inconvenient relative they would been told I was becoming. "Happy birthday, Robert," I said, giving my son a hug. He looked pleased to see me engaged and alert, probably relieved that I wasn't going to embarrass him in front of his friends. "Thanks, Mom. You look great. Feeling better today?" "I am feeling like myself again," I replied, the words carrying more weight than he could possibly understand. Amanda appeared at Robert's side, her smile tight as piano wire. "Dorothy, are you sure you should be up and around? You seemed so tired earlier. Maybe you should rest." "Oh, I am not tired at all," I said pleasantly, loud enough for the nearby guests to hear. "In fact, I have something I would like to share with everyone. A little presentation about my time living here, about family, about the things we do for the people we love." Amanda's face went pale beneath her carefully applied makeup. "I don't think this is the right time." "It is the perfect time," Tyler interjected. Pulling out his laptop and connecting it to the portable speaker system Robert had set up for the party. "Actually, Grandma Dorothy and I have been working on a little documentary project together. About family relationships, about respect, about what happens when people think nobody's watching." He set up the laptop on a small table where everyone could see the screen. The first slide appeared, "Living with Love, a family story." Robert looked confused but interested. Some of the guests moved closer, curious about what was coming. Amanda stood frozen, wine glass in her hand, smile still plastered to her face, but no longer reaching her eyes. "What is this about, Mom?" Robert asked. "It is about truth," I said simply, my voice carrying clearly across the suddenly quiet patio, "and about making sure everyone understands what has really been happening in your house. What you have allowed to happen. What your wife has been doing while you worked late every night." Tyler clicked to the next slide, a photo of my first meal at their house, a bowl of brown chunks next to Rusty's identical bowl, both sitting on the same kitchen counter, both filled with the same substance. The patio fell silent, complete, suffocating, the kind of silence that comes before explosions. "This is what I have been eating for the past 4 months, I announced. My voice steady and clear, not because of dietary restrictions or health issues, but because your wife thought it would be funny to feed me dog food while telling everyone I was confused and declining." Amanda's wine glass slipped from her hand, hitting the concrete patio with a sharp crack. Red liquid spreading across the white surface like blood at a crime scene. "Every meal," I continued, as Tyler advanced to the next slide. "Every single day, premium dog food that costs more than decent human food. Because this wasn't about saving money. This was about humiliation. This was about breaking down a woman who worked 2 jobs for 30 years to support her family, who helped pay for this house, who deserves basic human dignity." The slides continued. Photos of the dog food cans in the trash, screenshots of the ordering receipts showing monthly purchases of premium pet food, audio recordings of Amanda's comments about my dietary needs and how I should be grateful for what I get. "The most interesting part," Tyler said, his voice calm and professional, "is that this wasn't random cruelty. This was systematic abuse designed to make my grandmother appear incompetent so that legal control of her assets could be transferred to people who saw her as an obstacle rather than a person." He clicked to the next slide, screenshots of the emails between Amanda and her sister, discussing guardianship proceedings and the value of my estate, bank records showing my contributions to their household expenses, research into care facilities that would cost precisely the amount I had in savings. Robert's face went from confusion to horror, to something I would never seen before. Pure, undiluted rage directed at the woman standing beside him. "Mom," he started, his voice cracking. "Let her finish," I said quietly. "There is more." The final slides showed the progression of my treatment over 4 months. Photos taken secretly, documenting the meals, the isolation, the systematic removal of my belongings and dignity. Audio recordings of Amanda discussing my inevitable decline and the burden of my care. Evidence of a calculated campaign to make me disappear while stealing everything I would worked for. "This is what elder abuse looks like," I said to the stunned crowd. "Not dramatic violence, but systematic degradation, designed to make someone feel worthless, helpless, grateful for scraps. And it happens every day, in families just like this one, to people just like me." Amanda tried to speak, but no words came out. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Some of the guests started murmuring. Others looked like they wanted to leave but couldn't move. Robert stood up slowly, his face red with anger and shame. "I didn't know," he whispered. But the words sounded hollow even to him. "You didn't want to know," I corrected gently. "There is a difference. You chose to work late every night. You chose to believe her stories about my condition. Instead of trusting your own mother, you chose convenience over truth." I looked around at the faces staring back at me, family members who had believed Amanda's stories about my decline, neighbors who had accepted her version of events without question, friends who had pitied Robert for having to deal with his difficult mother. "I am moving out tomorrow," I announced, my voice carrying across the silent patio. "Tyler has helped me find a place where I will be treated like a human being instead of a burden to be managed. This house will be going on the market by the end of the week." Amanda finally found her voice. "You cannot do that. This is our home. We have nowhere else to go." I opened my folder and pulled out a legal document. "Actually, I can. This house has been in my name since Harold died, Robert. I have been letting you live here out of love, but I am taking it back out of necessity." The deed was clear, witnessed, and notarized. Harold and I had bought this house 40 years ago with money we would saved working double shifts and skipping vacations and making sacrifices Amanda couldn't imagine. When he passed, it became mine alone. I would never transferred ownership to Robert, though I would let him believe he was building equity by paying the mortgage on a house he would never own. "You have 30 days, I continued, my voice steady as stone. "That is more consideration than you showed me when you let your wife feed me dog food and plot to steal my life savings." Robert looked broken, aged 10 years in the span of 10 minutes. "Mom, please, I can fix this. We can fix this. Some things cannot be fixed. Sweetheart, they can only be ended." The party dispersed quickly after that. Guests made awkward excuses and left hurriedly, leaving Robert and Amanda to face the wreckage of their carefully constructed lies. The birthday cake sat untouched. Candles melted into colorful wax pools. A monument to celebration turned to ash. Tyler and I packed my things that evening. It didn't take long. Amanda had made sure I had very little, and most of what remained had been damaged or dirtied beyond repair. But I had what mattered: my dignity, my independence, and my future. As we loaded the last box into Tyler's car, Robert appeared in the driveway. He looked like he had been crying, his face puffy and red, his birthday shirt wrinkled and stained with wine from the glass Amanda had dropped. "I am sorry," he said simply, the words falling into the desert air like stones into a deep well. "I am so sorry, Mom." I looked at my son, the boy I would raised alone after his father died in a construction accident, the man I would sacrificed everything to help succeed, the person I would loved more than my own life for 38 years. "I know you are," I said quietly, "but sorry doesn't give me back the last 4 months of my life. Sorry doesn't erase the taste of dog food or the sound of your wife laughing about my humiliation. Sorry doesn't fix the fact that you were willing to let me disappear rather than confront the truth of what was happening in your own house." "What can I do?" he asked, desperation creeping into his voice. "Learn to live with what you allowed," I said, opening the passenger door of Tyler's car. "Learn to sleep at night, knowing that when your mother needed protection, you chose comfort instead. Learn to look at yourself in the mirror, and remember that you had a choice, and you chose wrong. I kissed his forehead one last time, tasting salt and regret, and the bitter knowledge that some relationships cannot survive the weight of betrayal. I love you, Robert, I said softly, but I love myself too. And it is time I started acting like it. Tyler and I drove away into the desert night, leaving behind the house where I thought I would be safe, the son who had failed to protect me, and the woman who had thought I was too old and too broken to fight back. I moved into a small apartment across town the next day. 2 bedrooms, full kitchen, balcony overlooking the mountains, clean, quiet, mine, no locks on the pantry, no one monitoring my phone calls, no one serving me food marked not for human consumption. Robert sold the house within 6 weeks, probably at a loss in his desperation to settle quickly. Amanda left for California 2 weeks after the party, filing for divorce and disappearing from our lives as quickly as she would entered them. They never contacted me again, not to apologize, not to explain, not to beg forgiveness or offer restitution. They simply vanished, leaving behind only the memory of what they would done and the taste of humiliation that still sometimes surfaces when I least expect it. I don't forgive them. I don't spend my time hoping they have learned from their mistakes or found peace in their new lives. I don't wish them well or badly. I simply refuse to let their cruelty define the rest of my story. Sometimes the best revenge isn't elaborate schemes or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it is simply refusing to die when they want you to disappear. Sometimes it is living well, living freely, living with dignity intact, despite their best efforts to destroy it. Sometimes it is the knowledge that they have to live with what they did, while you get to live without them. The taste of humiliation has a flavor. Sweet, metallic, unforgettable. But the taste of justice is even stronger. Subscribe to her light. Some stories don't have happy endings. They just have true ones.